So good afternoon and welcome to CompanyRoots. Today I'm interviewing Mr. Christian Zimmerman, the CEO and co-founder of Qoins, an automated micro platform that uses spare change to help pay off debts in a more efficient manner. Qoins has paid off more than $10 million worth of debt and has been featured on Forbes, ABC and NBC News, and CNN Money. Mr. Zimmerman has also been deemed a Forbes 30 under 30 social entrepreneur honoree in 2021. It is a privilege and I'm truly honored to interview you today. My name is Raul Kavoru. I'm a junior at St. Paul School in New Hampshire, and I'm the president of CompanyRoots. The first question that we always ask is, what are your roots, and how did they help you in shaping your ideas and becoming the person you are today?
Yeah, so obviously, thank you for having me. Happy to be on doing this interview. So, um, your first question was regarding kind of just myself and the business, correct?
Yes, like what were your roots, and like how did they shape you, like in becoming the stage you are today?
Yeah, so I'm 27. I grew up in Atlanta, where I'm from Atlanta. I was born in Houston, but my mom's I'm first generation American. My mom's immigrant from El Salvador.
Mhm.
And my dad's in the military, so I think just growing up in general just kind of had that independence instilled in me. And so when I graduated from college, went to Georgia State here in Atlanta, always had kind of a business acumen, always wanted to do my own thing. When I graduated, I kind of got thrown into this idea from a personal pain point and decided to run with it.
Awesome. So I'm sure growing up, you always had a mentor to look up to that kind of developed your social impact roots. So who would you say is your inspiration mentor for your success, and how they impact you and develop your social impact roots?
I mean, I'd probably say, definitely my parents. My mom is very much around, has always been very big on just giving your time, giving where you can. When I first started, uh, I actually traveled a lot when I was in college. And when I came back from traveling, that was like kind of the first taste of me wanting to do my own thing. I
Mhm.
actually wanted to like open up a bar. And my parents were very against it. They're like, if you're ever going to do a business, why don't you do something that's going to, create really good change, create really big impact, uh, for the better. And so obviously, I kind of took that to heart and try to figure out what is a good way to make an impact on personally to in my own way. So definitely my parents.
Awesome. And so can you briefly explain Coins and the platform for our viewers who might not know too much about it?
Yeah, so Coins with the Q is a financial wellness app, and it helps consumers really just build better financial habits and kind of help them along their financial journey to both pay off debts, whether it be credit cards, auto loans, student loans, mortgages, and automate the savings methods throughout the month to facilitate these payments towards their loans. So how it works is someone has their card that they use on a daily basis. They
Mhm.
choose how they want to save throughout the month, and then every month we're actually facilitating that payment for that customer. Um, and then one of the things that we're working on this year is actually the ability to also start getting into the savings method, which is kind of building that longer journey and trust with our customers as we're helping them pay down the debts.
Awesome. And in so Coins, what would you say are the biggest benefits your customers have?
I think the biggest benefit that they have is the ability to actually build these habits that are really hard to do if you weren't taught them early in an early age, and to actually see the impact that it can make without really thinking about it. So, again, it was a personal pain point of mine. I had a lot of both personal loans and student loans, made a lot of bad choices.
Mhm.
Um, Not necessarily because I wanted to, but I wanted to kind of move forward in life, so I didn't know kind of the ramifications. Now I do, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that are in the same boat as me that do make these bad choices that end up having some you know high implications, whether it be on high interest rates or overall monthly balances on a car or credit card. And so that's really the biggest thing, is we help automate that whole process without having to think about it.
Right. And I think what I'm seeing now is like some of the biggest companies are the ones that really use those pain points in their lives as like opportunities to make companies and really make something out of it. And so right now, Coins has paid off more than $10 million worth of debt. And so in building the organization, what would you say was your biggest hurdle or challenge in the organization when actually building the platform?
When building it, I think the biggest piece was actually understanding how the financial industry worked. I don't come from a finance background; I just come from a
Right.
business background. So understanding what really what fintech meant and how it combined both the financial industry with technology, and understanding the nuances and compliances and regulatory pieces was actually pretty difficult early on. Um, this industry is a very like, well, used to be viewed as, only like older people can kind of come in because they have that
Yeah.
expertise. We were very young, starting in 21, 22. So uh 22, 23, excuse me. So we were very young going into an industry that's really not known for that age to be starting a business.
Yeah, and on that note, Qoins currently offers like financial coaching and consultation, which I'm assuming is meant to kind of help those people who are not generally aware of how to take care of like their financial like background. And so, can you elaborate more on the service and actually the goal of offering financial coaching?
Yeah, so last year, well, I guess a year and a half ago, one of the biggest findings that we found, that we kind of came to, was that automate there's three big pillars when you talk about like personal finances, like education, there's automation, and there's like recommendation. And we had always kind of really focused ourselves under the automation piece. How do we just automate the whole process, kind of like, to an example of like a robo advisor. But in this industry, well, specifically debt, you can't just automate the process. You also have to educate. So we thought that the coaching piece would give a more personalized experience to the customer, with obviously certified experts to help you really build a plan before you actually start moving into these goals that you have for yourself. Because creating the goals are easy, but being held accountable and actually kind of following on with it is a little bit more difficult, and that's what our coaches help out with.
Right. And as you said, there are three like or pillars and kind of building a more functional organization. So how would you say you found the balance in actually operating with those three ideas?
um like in the aspect of the business itself, or just
Right.
kind of the
The
industry.
business itself.
um I think it kind of came to us given the data that we have, and the findings that we get from our customers when we do kind of feedback loops and customer interviews. So um I think we tried to really solve the initial problem, was like, which was, how do we mitigate the overall upfront work that a customer has to do. I think we nailed that on its head. Then it was like, how do we start building more of a holistic experience for the customer that isn't just automated but also personalized for them and personable. Because I think the biggest thing that we've seen is that personal finance has not necessarily become more personal. It's just become more automated, and those are two different things.
Yeah. And then what I'm seeing now is there's so many entrepreneurs in the next generation that are actually trying to get involved in the fintech space, but there's only a few that are actually getting involved in the social impact and fintech space. So what advice would you give to those actually looking to get involved in the social impact and technology space? And what are some of your biggest takeaways for having been in the industry for a while?
I would say that this has been the biggest learning for me, is like, don't follow um, the golden coin, right? Like, you're always going to see a lot of like shiny objects. I think that's what, don't follow the shiny objects, but more than anything, like, really figure out what is your overall mission for your business, and really stick to it. It can be very tough, but if you understand what your North Star is, a lot of the other things will really fall into place.
And as one of the best roundup apps and actually saving money, what would you say is your most proud achievement in building the organizations to its current stage?
I think the biggest thing is, goes back to kind of why we started it, which is being able to create that impact for our consumers. Like, I think you mentioned 10 million. We're actually up to a little over $15 million in debt paid off nationwide. And I actually spoke to a customer today, and just being able to connect with someone that I've never met is using my platform to actually, um, put themselves in a better position financially, is obviously very humbling and very exciting. So I think that's really the biggest thing.
Yeah, and that's definitely an amazing thing to definitely like just feel like seeing your own customers actually talk to you about how great the platform is and seeing how much you're putting an impact in their life. And so you were named as a Forbes 30 under 30 social entrepreneur honoree in 2021. What direction do you see the field of social impact going in, as it has definitely become more prominent in the past few years?
I think you're starting to see that businesses can be both good and profitable,
Mhm.
and the idea that you're just starting a business to make a buck isn't necessarily true.
Right.
If you have really good, strong missions and values, you can actually kind of contribute those towards the overall mission of your business and integrate that into how you manage the business, how you grow the business, how you communicate with your customers, all of those things. And it really starts at the ground level, and which really starts at the founder level, which is what are your own personal values and core values that you have, and how can you make those kind of be implemented within the business.
And on that note, in an organization that's involved in social impact, one of the biggest things is to have a really passionate team that's motivated to make an impact. So, what process do you go through in hiring a Qoins team members, and what skills do you look for, and what is the overall company culture that you're looking to create?
Yeah, I mean, I have to definitely give a shout out to my team. Like they, through thick and thin, like especially with COVID, I hadn't really seen any of them over the last year, but they worked through it all when we had to, do pay cuts because of COVID, when we had to get rid of our office. So to that note, I think the biggest thing that I try to look for is really less about what's on paper, but more so about again what's internal, and it's kind of hard to see initially, but if you have some of the key aspects of a founder's mentality, right? You're willing to kind of go through the trenches. You're willing to get your hands dirty. You're willing to learn, and also, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Not take defeat, but take initiative, and take initiative if things are wrong too. So those are the type of things that I look for. But when we're thinking about how we're hiring, especially now, because now we're actually trying to double down on our team, it is more about, all right, what are the specific roles that we're looking for, and how do they fit with our culture. And I think that was the last piece of your question, is like, what type of culture are we trying to build. you know I really kind of have built our team kind of through a family foundation, where like everyone is family and friends. Like we've had employees that have had cancer, and beat it, and we've all kind of rallied around it, and use that same um, thrive or energy to kind of thrive, and showcase that there's always something worse.
Right.
There's also some better. So um, the team alone, like, I think, understands that you know at the end of the day, this is a business, but at the end of the day, we're all these relationships is really how this business grows, and so that's really how we try to build a culture.
Right, and that's definitely great to hear. And I was actually able to form a social venture in 2020, and it's really awesome to see that I have team members who are actually giving constructive feedback on how the organization can grow, rather just than doing the work that's given to them. And so, how do you say Coin stands out in comparison to the other competitors in the field?
Yeah, I think we're still really early. Like it's crazy that we're in year 4 now.
Mhm.
We've learned a lot. We've made mistakes. We've also started really making some good strides. But any from a direct competitor space, I think we're kind of like the forefront of what we're trying to do. And COVID and the pandemic has actually helped us kind of shine more light into this problem versus like just a savings or future investments. We've always really said that if you really double down on yourself, right, and getting out of debt, that's really going to be the biggest return you'll ever get, even if you put your money into an investment. And so I think over the next few years, you're really going to see the Qoins brand and the Qoins company really start to make huge strides, and start to really take a lot of the what we call like the blue ocean, versus kind of just trying to compete directly with products that have been around for a long time.
Right, and it's definitely great to actually make innovation rather than just doing something similar to what the other competitors are. Um, and so we always end the interview off on the same question. What advice would you give to the current and next generation of high school students and college students that would like to start the process to make a positive impact on society? And how would you recommend they start this process?
I would say, like, don't ever think you're too young. Don't ever think you're too early to do anything that you want to do in life. Because at the end of the day, uh, in order to move forward, you have to make mistakes. It's more so about how are you going to bounce back from those mistakes, or how are you going to learn. One of my biggest mottos is always be learning. Don't ever feel like that you're the smartest person in the room, or that you can't necessarily excel in a specific, not just one specific role, but in life. The life journey isn't just about business. If you can manage one thing but can't manage the other, then how well are you actually succeeding? So I would say, like, learn how to actually manage life and business together, because they're cohesive, and they actually work with one another versus separately. So I would say that is a really big piece. And obviously the educational piece, right? If you're going to college or not, you know it's a big stepping stone. But if you also want to start your own business, there's nothing wrong with that. There's never a right or wrong answer as to which route you're trying to take.
Yeah, and that's something I'll definitely make sure to keep in mind. Well, yeah, thank you for letting us interview today. It was an honor and a privilege hearing your story and kind of seeing where Coins is at right now.